Did you seriously bolt from the checkout line and put on that little urgent call from the boss's act just so I'd pay $5,000 for your mother's new hardwood floors? I asked my husband, Jake. He just smirked. But this time, I wasn't going to let it slide. For 3 long years, I had been the trusting, high-earning wife, completely blind to the fact that my husband and his overbearing mother, Evelyn, were treating my hard-earned money like their personal piggy bank. Standing in that flooring showroom, I didn't just refuse the bill, I uncovered a massive trail of unauthorized bank transfers, a secret credit account opened in my name, and a hidden legal document designed to steal 30% of my own house. Before I reveal the shocking evidence I laid out on the kitchen table, and how my mother-in-law reacted when she realized she'd been caught red-handed, I have a quick question for you. Where are you watching this video from right now? Tell me your city or country down in the comments. I absolutely love reading where everyone is tuning in from. Now, let me take you back to how this web of lies began. It all started when Jake and I bought a beautiful 4-bedroom colonial house on Elmwood Drive. I was 32 years old, working as a successful marketing manager at a prominent firm and earning a fantastic salary. When my grandfather passed away, he left me an inheritance, and I proudly used 65% of it to fund the down payment on our home. Jake handled the mortgage paperwork. I still remember standing in the driveway with the keys, completely overwhelmed with joy as Jake kissed me and whispered, "We did it." I truly believed we were an unstoppable team. The house definitely needed some work. The kitchen was stuck in the past with ugly laminate countertops and outdated appliances, and the bathrooms were small and shabby. But as a marketer, I saw the immense potential. I started planning the renovations immediately, prioritizing restoring the gorgeous, original hardwood floors on the first level, which were hidden beneath years of old carpet. Evelyn came to visit us for Christmas that very first year. She was a tall, imposing woman with a notoriously sharp tongue and a knack for getting exactly what she wanted. Wearing a heavy fur coat and dripping in diamond jewelry, she walked through our new home acting as if she owned the title. She didn't hold back her snide comments, either. "These floors are an absolute disgrace," she told Jake, right in front of me. "You should do something about them before it's too late." Instead of defending our timeline, Jake just nodded nervously and said, "Riley's been looking into it." Evelyn shot me a cold, calculating look. "Of course she has," she sneered, her voice dripping with pure sarcasm. Over the next couple of years, my career completely took off. I received 2 major promotions, and my income soared. While Jake smiled and acted proud in public, I could sense a deep unease settling in. He was a software developer, but his career wasn't progressing nearly as fast as mine. To make matters worse, he was deeply dependent on his mother, who had raised him single-handedly after his father walked out when Jake was 10. Suddenly, Evelyn started displaying a strange, hyper-fixated interest in our renovation plans. At family dinners, she would grill me about contractors, material costs, and pricing. "How much are they quoting you for the oak floors?" she would ask casually. "I've been thinking about renovating my own place, but it's just so expensive." Thinking she was simply trying to find common ground and be friendly, I politely offered to share our contractor's contact details. Then came the turning point. About 3 weeks before our official flooring installation, I happened to come home early from work. The house was quiet, except for Jake's voice coming from the kitchen. He was speaking in a low, urgent whisper, but the moment his eyes met mine, he stopped mid-sentence. Forcing a rigid smile, he muttered, "Hey, you're home early," before abruptly ending the call and walking past me into the living room. A sharp pang of unease hit my stomach, but I brushed it off, telling myself I was just being paranoid. 2 weeks later, the truth finally caught up with them. I was hunting for a misplaced tax document in our shared home office when I accidentally opened the wrong desk drawer. Tucked inside was a folder containing 3 separate contractor estimates. They weren't for our colonial on Elmwood Drive, they were for Evelyn's living room. The quotes were for $4,900, $5,100, and $5,300. And there, scrawled across the bottom of the folder in Jake's distinct handwriting, was a note that read, "Ask her on Saturday. She'll pay." My hands were completely steady, but my heart was hammering against my ribs. In an instant, the puzzle pieces clicked together. Jake and Evelyn had been actively plotting to manipulate me into funding her home luxury upgrades. I carefully put the folder back, went into the kitchen, and poured a glass of water, forcing myself to stay calm. I thought about how incredibly trusting I had been, and how willing I was to always accommodate their family. Right then and there, I decided to play the long game. I called my close friend, Lily, who worked as a paralegal at a law firm, and laid out everything. Lily gave me ironclad advice: pull every single joint and personal bank statement from the past 24 months, let Jake walk directly into his own trap on Saturday, and simply document the fallout. When Saturday morning arrived, Jake was in an unusually fantastic mood. He eagerly suggested we head down to a local flooring showroom to look at high-end samples. I agreed, knowing exactly what role he expected me to play. At the showroom, a young salesperson named Ryan greeted us. Jake immediately took charge of the conversation, telling Ryan that they were wrapping up a project for his mother. "She's been waiting a long time," Jake said smoothly. "We want to move forward and finalize the payment today if the numbers work." When the time came to settle the bill, Jake smoothly turned to me, flashed a casual smile, and said, "Hey, can you handle the payment? I need to step outside and take this urgent call from my boss." His phone hadn't vibrated, it hadn't rung, and there was no notification on the screen. It was a completely rehearsed act. As he stepped away, I opened my purse, pulled out my phone, and opened my banking app. I bypassed the invoice and went straight into the 2-year history of our joint account. What I found was sickening. Over the past 24 months, there were 12 separate, unexplained transactions totaling $17,200. 3 of those transfers, totaling over $9,000, matched the exact names of contractors who had recently done work on Evelyn's property. I looked up at the salesperson, turned to Jake, and said clearly, "I won't be making a payment today." Jake looked completely paralyzed with shock. He drove us back to the house in total, suffocating silence. The moment we walked through the front door, I confronted him. "How much money have you stolen from our joint account for your mother?" I demanded. He stayed silent for a long time, refusing to look at me. Finally, he mumbled, "She needed the money, Riley. Her place was in terrible shape." Furious, I demanded the absolute truth. Jake confessed that the financial bleeding had started 3 years ago when Evelyn's car broke down, and he covered the repairs using his personal savings. But as her lifestyle demands grew, he began dipping directly into our joint marital funds, continuously lying to himself that it was just a temporary loan. But the betrayal ran even deeper. That same afternoon, I discovered that Evelyn had secretly opened a fraudulent credit account using both my name and hers without my knowledge or consent. The current outstanding balance was $12,500. I immediately called the credit issuer, reported the account as unauthorized fraud, and filed a formal police report. If that wasn't enough, I searched Jake's desk further and uncovered a drafted quitclaim deed. Evelyn had actually drawn up a document to legally transfer a 30% ownership interest of my house over to her. Jake had hidden it away, thinking he might use it down the line to protect himself in case we ever split. I called Evelyn right then and told her to be at our house the next morning to explain herself. She walked through the door at exactly 10:58 a.m., looking just as haughty and untouchable as ever. I didn't say a word, I simply laid all the evidence out across the dining table: the contractor estimates, the fraudulent bank statements, the police report, and her drafted deed. Evelyn stared at the spread, and for a brief second, a mix of surprise and twisted respect crossed her face. "Well," she said coldly, "you're far more resourceful than I gave you credit for." "I want an explanation, Evelyn." "Now," I said. She shrugged her shoulders. "My son earns less than you do. I was terrified that if something ever happened between the two of you, he would be left with absolutely nothing. I was simply protecting my son's interests." I looked her dead in the eye. "What you did is grand identity fraud. And you are officially banned from stepping foot in this house until these legal issues are fully resolved." Seeing the absolute finality in my expression, Jake finally woke up, found his spine, and told his mother that she needed to leave. In the weeks that followed, the credit issuer fully confirmed the forgery, wiped the $12,000 balance clean, and permanently shut down the account. I chose not to press criminal charges against his mother, but I kept every single scrap of legal documentation locked safely away. 8 months later, Evelyn packed up and moved to an entirely different city. As for Jake and me, we are still taking it day by day, trying to see if our relationship can ever truly recover from a betrayal this deep. This past September, the hardwood floors in our colonial house were finally, beautifully refinished. They look absolutely stunning, but now, every single time I walk across them, I am no longer reminded of the house's potential. Instead, I'm reminded of the massive battle I fought to protect what was mine. My grandfather always used to tell me, "Money is the direct fruit of your own hard work, Riley. Never let anyone take it from you easily." And I am fully determined to hold on to everything I earn.